dark forest is a theory that the universe is full of dangerous aliens who are all being silent because they don't want other alien civilizations to know where they are and obliterate them. It is a galaxy filled with celestial-scale weapons of mass destruction and limited knowledge. The concept is that each species is a hunter in a dark forest, and as you walk around, you don't know if anyone you meet is a monster or another hunter that will kill you. So you shoot first and end the threat absolute certainty. But this theory makes the same faulty assumptions about individual and sentient thought as all theories that sound good on paper but don't work in practice. It implies that civilization is a monolith capable of making decisions with zero dissent. While it may be possible for a hive-minded species to behave with a singular purpose, it is unreasonable to assume in the extreme to assume that every species in the galaxy would be capable of doing so, and it would have to be every species in the galaxy for the dark forest to be a viable answer to the Fermi Paradox. For those that don't know, the Fermi Paradox would indicate that if sentient life can exist, the galaxy should be full of said life and the signals it would generate, but obviously it isn't. There are three reasons that this explanation to the Fermi Paradox is unreasonable. First, control would have to be so tight as to leave zero trackable emissions and signals. The species would have to achieve a technological level capable of posing a threat to its neighbors while somehow remaining perfectly quiet. And a third would be that there are zero factions inside said civilization that disagree with the collective's dark forest approach and will not leave the system or send out signals in any other way. Fourth, that all civilizations in the galaxy fear the possibility that other civilizations exist more than they value basic freedoms. Because if sapient alien life exists and they aren't hive creatures, odds are they will have their own concept of basic human rights. It is almost impossible for a single town to follow all zoning, residential, and parking laws, let alone the type of rules that would be necessary to police every possible signal that would let aliens know they exist. Now, upscale that problem to a planetary civilization like ours. Billions. Now upscale that to a civilization that would be a threat in the dark forest. You are talking about trillions of people across multiple celestial bodies. The level of micromanagement you would need to have over the entire population would make George Orwell shrivel in horror. Not even the Soviet Union was able to exert that sort of control over its people. The only nation that comes close to the level of control necessary to police all dark forest signals is North Korea. So in order to buy into the dark forest theory, we are forced to believe that all civilizations in the entire Milky Way galaxy are essentially hyper-advanced ants or North Koreas. Millions of them, North Koreas, all over the galaxy. I don't know about you, but I find that preposterous. It is beyond impossible that not a single civilization would value freedom. It is therefore no surprise to me that the dark forest is the product of a mind raised in the repressive and dystopic society ruled by the CCP. I also find it unlikely that every species in the galaxy would be able to advance from low-tech to high-tech without producing signals and offshoot civilizations that don't share their obsessive dark forest fears. Technological and industrial advancement are messy affairs, and you can't have one without the other. Technology is useless without an industrial base that can use it, and an industrial base without technology is stagnation and regression. Additionally, you do not find technological advancement in the only data set we have, our own, without either a growing economy or war. You can't have a growing economy without growing populations. Both of those require freedom. War would immediately disqualify the dark forest theory as an extremely loud and messy affair and implies the species is tribal and fights itself. If a species behaves like that, there are always going to be someone who defies those in power and would accidentally or on purpose let themselves be known to the galaxy. If the species advanced without war, it would take economic development, which does not happen in the sort of oppressive society it would take to keep them quiet. I find it highly questionable that a species would be able to advance enough to become an existential threat to another species without being loud and easily detectable. But in order for the dark forest theory to be true, it doesn't just have to be true with one alien species, it has to be true for all of them. Now let's assume that said intelligent species manages to advance to a level where they can pose a threat to their neighbors. They would have to spread across their planet and solar system, possibly more than one star system. That would mean trillions upon trillions of individuals, separated by huge expanses of time and space. It is extremely hard to maintain control over that many individuals and groups, and the difficulty increases as distance increases. Are we expected to believe that not a single one of those groups would rebel against their controlling government or dissent enough to accidentally let their presence be known? Every offshoot government of that species would have to be just as controlling as the first. Every biological or governmental variant of that species would have to have programmed fear, the likes of which we, as humans, can't fathom. What sort of compulsion or pathological fear would be necessary in order to keep such a civilization from letting any signals escape? If it is a biological imperative, their lives would be living nightmares of fear and anxiety. If it was a cultural imperative or oppression, their lives would equally be nightmares from fear of their own people. With the size a single threat-level civilization would require, it is statistically unlikely they would let nothing escape. When the whole galaxy is taken into consideration, it just becomes overwhelmingly absurd to think that all of them would be the same oppressive horrors that would allow the Dark Forest to be a good explanation to the Fermi Paradox. The Dark Forest is a nice, grimdark thought experiment that is of absolutely no practical use. It doesn't even pass a basic practicality sniff check. It is science fiction in the extreme, science and postulation devoid of realism in the study of human behavior or animal behavior. In the animal kingdom, we don't see the sort of pathological fear that would cause them to be perfectly silent in anything that has even a semblance of rational thought. If even a single alien species were like us, it would be automatically false. So either another Fermi Paradox explanation is true, or we are, in fact, alone in the observable universe. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe.